Hello and welcome. It is Wednesday, October 28th, 2020, and this is Truly News. I am your host, Jason Van Sickle. This week we launched the Truly News print edition, which features stories that you are about to hear along with links to the original articles. Check out our new print edition at trulynews.org. Now, on to today's headlines. As always, we start with a quick rundown of the top headlines from the nation's largest newspapers. From USA Today, with a Game 6 win, the Los Angeles Dodgers won the World Series on Tuesday night and became the national champions again after waiting 32 years to regain the title. And from the Wall Street Journal, around 1,000 people looted businesses near downtown Philadelphia last night in a second night of unrest after a video showed police shooting a black man armed with a knife. From the New York Times, with less than a week to Election Day, more than 69 million Americans have already voted, which is more than half the number that voted in the entire 2016 election. From the Los Angeles Times, believing that it was their destiny to once again become the World Series champions, the Los Angeles Dodgers capped an 8-month-long journey with a Game 6 win. From the Washington Post, with 1 week to go until the election, Biden is promoting a vision of healing the nation while Trump is attacking Democrats over issues like mail-in ballots and COVID testing. And here are the stories that are crossing the wire at Reuters News. Over the last week, nearly 500,000 Americans have tested positive for COVID as the Midwest sees a record number of new hospitalizations. And also from Reuters, according to the National Hurricane Center, Tropical Storm Zeta picked up strength and became a hurricane as it heads for landfall in Louisiana this afternoon. And those are your top headlines for today. Now we take a break from the headlines to lighten the mood with our Joke of the Day, presented by my friend Billy Cunningham. Billy is a comedian who goes by the stage name Potbelly. And here's Billy.
Thank you, Jason. This is Billy Potbelly Cunningham with your Joke of the Day. And today's category is fake news. Here we go. Amy Coney Barrett was sworn in by Justice Thomas at the White House yesterday. President Trump stood uncomfortably close to them during the ceremony so he could be in every photograph. When Trump heard that Barrett was the 5th woman to become a Supreme Court justice, he said, "Wow, number 5. That's a biggie. You know, I'm the 45th president. 45 is bigger than 5, but 5's a good number too. So good job." Oh, he tries so hard. Give that brain a rest, big fella. Well, that is your fake news joke of the day. Until next time, be kind to others, be good to yourself, and keep on smiling. This is Billy Potbelly Cunningham. Over and out.
Thanks, Billy. We now return to our review of the day's news. In science news from Scientific American, ever wonder why woodpeckers are making all of those holes in trees? Well, it is because they use those holes to store nuts. And, according to researchers from the Smithsonian Museum of Natural History, acorn woodpeckers team up to fight long territorial wars to determine the right to claim certain trees that over the years have become the storehouse of thousands of acorns. In technology news, from the BBC, on Wednesday, senators will hold another hearing to question top executives from Facebook, Google, and Twitter about whether social media discriminates against conservatives. This follows Twitter preventing people from posting links 2 weeks ago to a New York Post article making accusations against Joe Biden. In space news, from Science Magazine, new studies suggest that there is more water on the moon than previously thought. The water, which is trapped below the surface as ice, is important because it can be converted into hydrogen and oxygen for rocket fuel and air. This as NASA moves towards creating a permanent base on the moon for launching missions to places like Mars. And that is your science, technology, and space news for today. Now, here is our announcer, Ron Johnson, with a word from today's sponsor.
Our sponsor today is Big Dog Fitness with their new high-protein workout snack, Hamburger Pudding. As assistant trainer and head nutritionist Chet Biffley explains, all of our meat comes from a special farm where the cows are fed only pudding. That gives our creamy hamburger pudding its great taste. Okay. Thank you to Big Dog Fitness for today's sponsorship.
Thank you, Ron. And now we return to today's news. In health news from WebMD, thanks to the miracle of modern medicine, a baby born weighing only 1 pound has survived and is now heading home. Baby Russell was born over 4 months early, and he was so small that he could fit into his dad's hand. However, after spending 19 weeks in the hospital, Russell Jr. is now headed home 3 weeks before his original due date. In social news from the Brookings Institute, 7 months after the start of COVID, it is difficult to estimate how many families will struggle to pay rent in the coming months. However, what is certain is that many households are barely getting by financially. With 11 million fewer jobs in the economy since February and lost work time for many, concern is growing over potential evictions. In environmental news from Popular Science, recently, back-to-back hurricanes hit the U.S. Gulf Coast, and another is on its way. In fact, there were so many hurricanes this year that the organization that names hurricanes alphabetically ran through the entire alphabet and had to start over. Warming waters are one of the things being blamed for the increase in frequency. And that is your health, social, and environmental news for today. Now it is time for our Words of Wisdom with philosophy professor Dr. Albert Feinstein. And here is Dr. Feinstein.
Thank you, Mr. Van Siegel. Hello and welcome. Today's words of wisdom come from St. Augustine, who said, "Habit, if not resisted, soon becomes necessity." What Augustine points out is the fact that actions repeated over and over become habits. This can be good or bad. If we engage in unhealthy activities, then we will develop unhealthy habits. However, if we focus on a routine that repeats healthy activities, then our brain will be conditioned to develop healthy habits. So, be aware of your behavior and repeat those actions that you will be happy having as habits. And those are your words of wisdom for today. Until next time, keep seeking wisdom and believing in your incredible potential. Good luck.
Thank you, Dr. Feinstein. We appreciate your words of wisdom and your encouragement. Now we return to our review of the day's news. In economic news from the Wall Street Journal, with millions of renters now behind on their rent payments, there is a growing concern among economists that potential mass evictions could cause the next U.S. housing crisis. This is a concern given the fact that the last housing crisis helped cause a recession. In world news from Bloomberg, across Europe, countries are looking again at implementing the types of lockdowns that were put in place at the beginning of the pandemic. As another wave of COVID sweeps across Europe, countries like Germany, France, Italy, and Spain are all looking at what can be done to curb the new spread. Curfews are in place, and lockdowns may be next. And that is your economic and world news for today. In entertainment news, we start with new movies, and today's movie is Over the Moon, starring Glenn Keane, Brycene Hall, and Ruth Ann Miles. This movie falls into the categories of animation, adventure, and comedy. And here's the description from IMDb. In this animated musical, a girl builds a rocket ship and blasts off, hoping to meet a mythical moon goddess. Over the Moon is now available on Netflix. Moving on, in newly released shows, today's show is This Is Us, starring Milo Ventimiglia, Mandy Moore, and Sterling Brown. This series falls under the categories of comedy, drama, and romance. And here is the description from IMDb. A heartwarming and emotional story about a unique set of triplets, their struggles, and their wonderful parents. Season 5 of This Is Us is now showing on NBC. Finally, in entertainment news, we look at newly published books. And our book for today is The Body Keeps Score by Bissell van der Kolk. This book is presently number 3 on the New York Times paperback fiction bestseller list. And here is a summary from Amazon. A pioneering researcher transforms our understanding of trauma and offers a bold new paradigm for healing in this New York Times bestseller. The Body Keeps Score is now available at your local bookstore and in print, audiobook, and Kindle formats on Amazon. And that is your entertainment news for the day. As always, we end our broadcast with Hope for Humanity, stories about the goodness and kindness that people show each other every day. And here is today's story. In our continued look at the Minnesota Star Tribune series on Heroes of the Pandemic, today's story is about Lisa Vinson. Her daughter wrote that she was incredibly thankful for her mom, Lisa, who spent the last 6 months during COVID helping out with her grandkids in many ways while also looking after her own parents. Well, I just want to say to all of the grandparents listening out there who have helped your kids and grandkids during COVID at the risk of your own health, thank you. We, your kids and grandkids, appreciate all that you do. And that is your news for October 28th, 2020. Have a wonderful day.